Hello, I think we could start. Today I will talk about the software engineering profession in the AI era and the future of software development, a topic which highly impacts all of us, the entire industry, because I believe that shift is happening right now and it will continue to happen over the next few years or maybe tens of years. And many of you have heard about how developers will be replaced by robots. I'm not sure it will come soon, but some things are getting replaced. For example, right clicks generate the automation test for me. This already works, and is it puts on under a question what will happen with the QA engineers and how their job will transform. Just a little example. So today I will talk about the evolution of the AI tools, what we already have and what we expect in the future. The first layer, the AI chatbots for coding, or how to prompt uh, tools like Quot to write code, but later how the evolution of tools emerged into the rise of the AI coding assistants, tools like Cursor AI, like GitHub Copilot and others, and AI developer agents, which claim to develop the entire software for you end to end. You just click the start button and go to drink coffee. So this partially could work. For example, if you give them a task, write me a snake game in JavaScript, and this works. This works, these tools to be honest, but we'll see later deeper. So the current state of the expectations in the industry for the next maybe 10 years is that AI will be a tool for developers and not a replacement. Later, who knows, we may fall into a civil war if all the jobs are getting rapidly replaced by AI because developers are not so much. But when the truck drivers get replaced, when the people in the normal jobs get replaced, we'll have different problems. So something is true that shifting the developer skill set is running now. It's in its start. Maybe it started 1 or 2 years ago when GitHub Copilot started to write full pieces of code, not just three lines. And the adoption is something that is always hard to happen. There are people who try to combat to stay to work the old way. There are technical issues and many others. So these are the things that I will talk about, and what will happen with the developer job market. We already see that uh, times from the find developers are the rulers, etc., have passed, and no longer developers are the most wanted people in the world. I don't believe this will happen again. It might improve, but later. So, you know me, I'm a software engineer, educator, speaker, entrepreneur, uh, and recently AI enthusiast. In the last few years, I'm highly concentrated on tracking what happens in the AI world and also teaching people how to use it. And we started recently an entire new brand at SoftUni, the SoftUni AI, where we will teach people, the normal people from the street, how to use AI and to improve their life and their business performance. So I'm author of books before the AI era because now this is something not very complex. Everybody can write a book. It's just a set of prompts. I even give a homework for my students in my courses to write a book. So this is something that you just need to attend the course. So I'm behind for successful educational initiatives, and my focus is on the tech education. We have a high school, we have a software university, and in the past I have trained software engineers in the last 20 years or maybe more, because I started when I was a student at school. I trained my schoolboys, uh, people in my class. So the first thing is that AI tools are here and developers are already using them. But what happens? Most developers I talk with are just saying this doesn't work. Oh, this is shit. Oh, this is something for the kids. It's just for a demo. To be honest, it was like this in the past. Maybe 2 years ago, it was okay. This can write me a missing function, for example, where I have the correct definition input and output, and it can fill 10 lines of code, like find how many times a word appears in a substring, for example. It's very good at this. But now I can't write assignment for my students which can't be done with ChatGPT. I cannot create assignment for my students which cannot be solved by AI. Things changed a lot, which means that now, today, the AI tools are better than 99% of my students at SoftUni who sit on exams. I tried to remove the copy paste, to replace the fonts, etc. Okay, this works with some stupid students, but more smart student, yeah, you can change the fonts and replace the letter A with st, and when you copy, this will visually appear correctly, but when you copy, it will break. These are small tricks with the PDF format. But they can just copy, take a screenshot, and I can do anything about it. And what I find is that if I have a good problem statement, very well described, like it should be, I have a very good prompt for the AI. So the only way to create a problem where my students can't use AI is just to don't have a good description. But this is also challenging. So what's the evolution? We started from AI chatbots through the AI coding assistants, and now people are experimenting with AI dev agents. This is all, not something new, but recently it improves. So AI developer tools are improving. That's what I'm saying. In the past, we were something, this doesn't work, it's not good, it cannot solve my homework. Today, it can solve all your homeworks. The O1 model can solve all the tasks from the high school in math, physics, chemistry, etc. You just screenshot the paper and it solves it better than your teacher because it explains better in very structured way. Did you try O1 model? ChatGPT O1. It's highly structured. It works like a mathematician, like your teacher in mathematics. Let's do this, let's do this. It creates something like an algorithm, then it uh, runs this algorithm and makes conclusions. So AI tools are getting better and better. So how AI helps the developers? We have autocomplete, but better autocomplete. It just writes the missing piece of code. It's getting smarter and smarter because it knows your project, your context, your framework, your everything. The context window is expanding and expanding. In the past, 60,000 tokens was a big context. Now, 1 million tokens is a big context. 1 million is something that you can put your entire project for the last 2 years inside. So automation of code generating tasks is very good in refactoring, in bug fixing, in code generation, etc. But you can ask the what to do just by text. Improve this, extract this, make this, create a controller to process this data, create a form to collect this data, add a new field in this form, make another form just like this one. So it's something like we used copy paste with replacement in the past. Many of you are developers, I hope. So you know you when you create a new form, it's most of the time similar like the previous one that you made yesterday. It's very similar, but not exactly the same. And AI is extremely good dealing with this. So automated test writing is something that I cannot think of writing a test myself. It's something that just like it's not normal for me to write an email myself. It's just I need an email, 3 points, do it. And there, tintiri mintiri. In Bulgarian, we have the word sapunisai. I always give the instruction sapunisai go. Make it look pretty. So, yeah, try it. ChatGPT knows very well what sapunisai go means. Exactly with this wording. Saponisai go. Sapunisva чудесно. Exploration of code, it's there are tools which are very good on AI generated live documentation. So they read the code and they create wiki pages, they create live documentation which changes real time, and it's always accurate, it's always good, and it's always up to date. Code reviews, security checks, and many things are emerging now. So these tools we already have, but what I see in the industry is that we have several layers of AI powered coding. The first one is the AI chatbots. This is something that everyone can try. You just go to ChatGPT or Gemini, even the free versions, which are less capable than the paid ones, obviously. But you just write a piece of code to do this, this, and this. This works extremely well for the introductory problems at high school and at soft uni. You just type the write this code. AI coding assistants go beyond because they have a bigger context. They can directly replace your code. If you have a project with um 700 files, classes, controllers, etc., front end, back end, etc., it could read and access all this code and make something bigger, and it directly suggests improvements. I'll show you. And AI developer agents, they claim to be a higher level of programming. They are automated systems which solve a problem end to end. You give them a task, for example, create me a social network for drug dealers, for example. Uh, yeah, because you don't have it already, and and they will do it just by one sentence assignment. You can get prepare a better assignment, of course, to take some features. But again, if you have a good specification, like I give to my students, it's up to me. You should have this form. You should have current operations over, users over, products over, etc. You should have file upload descriptions, etc. You should use this database, this backend. It will execute and you get something. I say something because it will never be what you want, because building software is an interactive process where you constantly interact with the stakeholders, with your customer, with your final client, etc. And this cannot still happen with the AI. Not because the AI is not capable, but because AI don't make meetings, don't make phone calls. You still need the people here. Maybe someday, like Sinisha said, we'll have AI dealing with another AI and they will negotiate between each other, but we'll see. So, what's inside the chatbots for coding? You know them. ChatGPT and Quot. It's called Quot, Claudie, Claudie. It's the French word quote. What like Jean-Claude Van Damme, the same quote. He can write code by text prompts. And the process is very simple. You write some text, it generates some piece of code, but it's limited. For example, it cannot easily structure you a small project with 10 classes, with some controllers, with some UI, with HTML, with CSS, with scripts. With it, it doesn't work uh, on a project basis. It works just on a piece of text. And when you tell him create a JavaScript game, it creates just a single file with 1,000 lines of code, which combines HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and whatever. So it works. Uh, there is a leaderboard here where you can see what's the current. They claim this is why. So coding, still Cloud 3.5 Sonnet looks like it's the best. I don't know. I use Cloud 3.5 with Cursor AI, but this is my personal favorite. You know, many people prefer one to the other. But GPT, ChatGPT, and Quote are the leaders currently. I think this could change with the next version of something, which can come the next month. So AI chatbots are the underlying building blocks of more power tools, because it's not so convenient to write text prompts to generate code, to copy paste it inside your project, and etc. It's better to have this integrated in your development IDE. So it's really better to have this, and this is what Cloud 3.5 Sonnet can do. They try to integrate the generated code here. They also can run React. I don't know how exactly this works, but looks like they compile it server side. But when you generate HTML and CSS, they have preview here, and you can play the game. I can show you, in fact, if I open this. No, I don't know if I have enough time, but yeah, this is the Falling Rocks games. I just created a prompt, create me a game in HTML and JavaScript, and it created these games, and it works. So now people who are not developers can code with this tool. Another example is that I have an Excel file of people who graduated my course. I want to create a PDF diplomas for them. Do it. And it does it. I upload the Excel, it parses it, it makes the magic, and finally it produces PDFs and gives me links. There are some small things to consider, but basically this is React code. It's not even HTML. This is the direction where this kind of tools go, but they are tools not for developers. Quote is not for developers. It could be used by developers, but basically it's not built for them. So AI coding assistants are the next level of tools. They are tools which are especially designed for developers to improve their coding experience and to speed up their development. And they really work very, very well on many tasks, not on all tasks. They cannot handle all kinds of code. They cannot handle many things, but they work very, very well. So I personally use Cursor AI. I think it's best of its class, but the others have similar abilities like Tab9, GitHub Copilot, etc. So what's the main idea? The AI-powered dev assistants work with chat commands. So you just select a piece of code and say, for example, extract this logic to separate function. Okay, I code in C# in this example. It works with all the languages. There is no problem. And it just does the jobs and explain what it does. You click accept. I can show you to be this way. So you have a piece of code. You write something, new chat, and quote says, okay, let me think a bit. Certainly, You have this code, you want to extract it to a separate function. This is just a small example. And you say apply. It tells you what will change, but it can change multiple files in the same time. So you can tell me, okay, please add a new field in my form, which will affect my UI, then the controller, then the database, then the backend, then the 12 files. When you create a single small change in the final app, it may affect 12 files, for example, and it's normal in programming. So it will make the change in all these 12 files because it knows your code base. And when you click accept, it works. And of course, it's encouraging to test it, whether it works correctly. But you can also ask the tool to write unit tests. For example, I can select this and say add unit tests. It might have some special things like I should include NUnit framework, for example, etc. But basically, these are the tests. And I just copy, paste, etc. So this is how it already works. And some developers don't know that this exists, but trust me, try it. It works. And the power it has now, it's ways better than power it had 2 years ago. Because I tried Cursor AI 2 years ago. It also worked, but it was not so smart like now. It's getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and in most cases, it does the job. Because you can hint him, you can say, use the logic from this file, and you tag with the Clomba. You tag the logic and you explain, take the logic from this form and this, and do the same with this one. So, for example, when you talk with a customer, you can do like this. You just talk with him. I want to create an app which has this. And during the phone call, you ask the Cursor AI to create the form. And during the live call with the customer, you can show him the form and it will work. So you can code real time with the speed, not, okay, I understand what you told me, tomorrow I'll have something for you, and the next day we can schedule a meeting, and the next day we will discuss what to change, and the next week we'll have the changes. Now this happened in 1 hour, and it really happens. I have experienced this. We discussed with one of my developers how to build something, and during the discussion, he built it actually, and he showed me, okay, do you think this is okay? I thought, add another, this should be changed. He typed, this should be changed. You should collect also the emails and the phone numbers of these guys. Okay. Oh, but we should have multiple of this. And he puts a prompt, and it changes the single user form with multi-users form with pluses and minuses to add and delete many customers, for example. So this is something which works today. You should try it. But this is something which shows the direction where it goes. If you read the news, you will see that in Amazon, in other bigger companies, they stopped hiring and they talk about retraining. Did you hear this news? And this is real. If Amazon are trying to retrain their internal developers, what will happen with us? We'll do the same, but later. This is what usually happens in Bulgaria when something big changes, including when layoffs are massively running in the US. 1 month later or 3 months later, they come here. And the opposite, of course. So AI coding assistants like Cursor, like GitHub Copilot, Type 980, they write code through prompts. I believe this will be the future because writing code through prompts will work so well that you will not consider writing it yourself. This is something like if your washing machine is working so well, why you will wash your dress or your something by hand? You will never think about such an action. So I'm in a big crisis what to teach my students because I will teach them writing for loops, but they will never do this by hand. Never. Like a school mathematician, they teach us how to multiply big numbers, and most of you still can do this, but you'll never do this by hand. Yeah, last year I tried to multiply numbers by hand, and I found myself that for the last 15 years I didn't do this, and I needed some time to remember. But why I needed this? Just to explain my kid how to do this because he had this assignment at school. The same happens now with the software. You should know how for loops work. You should be able to read code, but most of you will never write code by hand, letter by letter, in the next years. Sooner or later, if you still code by pressing, typing keys, this is the old way. This is like people who, accountants who don't use a calculator because they are very good with numbers. So AI prompts create and implement some kind of plan, and this plan ends with some code changes, usually changes in several files, not just a single file, because it's context aware, it's aware of your um, code base. And finally, you accept changes, or you give another prompt and say, oh, no, make it the other way. Don't inline the CSS here. Please extract it in this, for example, or extract another component in your React framework. And finally, you can test the code, but you can also write tests, automated tests. So this is how it works today, and it works very well. There are cases where it doesn't work well. For example, when you have very complicated project built on old technology or special technology. I had a guy who worked on a very special satellite calculations around cosmos technology with satellite, right? And he found one day that he's the only one in the world doing these calculations. So even in this case, the chat almost solved his problem because of general knowledge, because of reading physics textbooks, etc., etc., etc. But there was no existing code base which can just be applied. But if you write React, now Indians write React. In India, they finally learned React because of these tools. So usually this works today. You tell, create a form, customers with phone name, email. It creates, writes HTML, etc. You say use this CSS framework, use this. You should know what you do, but you don't need to do it yourself. This is like giving orders. You work like a senior developer who has many younger developers around him and just order, do this, let me see what you have done. But this happens immediately. After 5 seconds, I have the form with the customer's name, phone, email. I just write, make it bigger, add validation. I just add prompts. It improves based on feedback from me. And finally, I tell at the same at DB table customers, you don't need to write full sentences. You just add the b. Add DB. This is enough. He knows that in this context, when you have created form for a new entity, this entity should be added to the database. So how this works, it writes a kind of SQL script which changes the database version, changes the database schema, for example, if you use SQL schema, and finally you tell implement controller. If you say implement controller, it would be always similar. It will create the add, remove, etc. All the CRUD operations for this controller. So this is how it works, and this works today. You should try it. If you don't try it now, you will try it later. This is like uh, this is how technology usually works. When Docker was starting to become famous, I was thinking, oh, the next shit, like the next, you have thousands of similar things that arise and disappear. For example, I'm happy that I didn't touch microservices because I believe that except in very, very, very huge, large projects, they are not beneficial. They make your project um, slower to create, harder to maintain, etc. So this is something that I see technology and I just wait. Oh, let me see what happens. If they repeat it from the left, from the right, it's time to see it, like with Docker. And once I see Docker, oh, this is great. I should learn it. And I learn it, but I cannot learn all the technologies in the world. So now AI, you will talk, hear about AI, a bit about Cursor or other tools, and give them a try. Otherwise, you will hear from some other colleague, etc., 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 a few months later or a few years later. But I don't think that this is something which will come and go out. Like, for example, XML web services. Ha ha ha. Do you remember them? And Java Enterprise. Ha ha ha. There are still projects based on Java Enterprise, but yeah. So Air developer agents are something which I think this will not replace. This will extend the development landscape. Like, for example, years ago, if you needed to create a website, you needed a developer to write your HTML and CSS. Later, content management features were created in some systems. And finally, some full class CMS like WordPress and others uh, made this job, they taken this job from the developers and move it to the marketing team. Currently, creating websites is not a developer job. It's not a tech job. It's a function of the marketing team, usually, in many companies. Depends, but in many companies. So creating simple software project will be the same because we already have these low-code platforms where you combine existing components and UI tools. But when adding AI, it becomes easier and easier to make small apps like tree forms to collect some data. This is something that will be made by school kids, by kids at school during their homeworks. This is coming, and it's already here, but it's not massive. You can do this. So tools like Devi, CodeRead, Honeycomb, Genie, and many others are called AI developer agents. They advertise them like automated AI software engineers or whatever, but they are agents. Why agents? Because you usually have multiple roles which talk to each other to build something. For example, you have a developer, you have architect, you have a QA. Developer writes code, and the QA, which is another bot, makes a code review and tells add this, change this, etc. So we have not just one prompt, but we have thousands of prompts which talk to each other, like just like when you have a software company and you have 5 people who are assigned to build something. They have roles, they talk to each other, and after these talks, some of them correct what they think about something. So finally, the final goal is to have a fully autonomous development. I think this could work and this will improve over the time. but it will be not a tool for all the projects. This is what they claim, and people who develop these agents are dealing wrong. They say, we will not need developers because this can be done. No, it's not like this. Because we have cars, this doesn't work, means that we will never go without a car. In some scenarios, it's better not to use a car. For example, in the forest or in the mountain or so finally, you can create end-to-end projects through AI prompts. Prompts might be something bigger, like 40 pages of text, explaining all the screens. Some tools try to take a Figma UI prototypes, which is a very good approach, just to have all the forms already designed. So you describe basically the task or the project or the issue. Imagine a Jira issue or a GitHub issue, which is very well described. So this AI agents creates a kind of plan, a kind of algorithm, sequence of steps. First, I will do this, then I will fix this file, then I will test. If it doesn't work, I will make another fix. They auto-execute the plan through a series of queries to prompts. Finally, they generate the code and other project assets like images, scripts, etc. And finally, they run and test the project. They try to test it to test if the goal is achieved, which not always is possible. For example, make this look better from the UI perspective. It's something that you may love it, or two people may have different opinion about this. But they end up with a working software, or at least with a pull request, which encapsulates all these changes and closes the issue in GitHub, for example. And this works today, but it doesn't work well. This is the truth. It doesn't work very well. Many examples compete. Devin was the very heavily advertised AI developer that journalists told don't study software engineer. Devin will do the job. It's not like this. It's a tool. It's not a replacement. So many such tools exist, and there is a standardized benchmark called SWE bench, which tries to compare the achievements, but it's highly limited. Even this is a science-based benchmarking tool. It's extremely limited because it works on this cold forces data set. They are human validated 500 problems. But in the real world, problems are not like this. In the real world, you have a factory where you need to add another hardware in the machine. You need to talk with the production engineer there, and you need to propose a solution which includes hardware, software, negotiations with the payments, etc., to create a specification how to build something. This cannot be done but by the AI. AI can build something very specific, which is limited to the software side of one system. So that's why I think these agents could do the job with some specific cases. Basically, they check out the code, they create changes, they run, they test, they do what typical developer can do. And they work very well with well-defined tasks. For example, this form doesn't handle, this form is broken when you don't fill it and click submit. What it should add? It should add some kind of validation or error processing. Such issues can be automatically fixed. That's why these tools work well with some kind of tasks. And I know a company where everyone is allowed to deal with the production code through pull requests because they use such tools. And if they find something like typo or something is missing, the call center, the people who work in the call center, they can fix directly the code. Developers will say, no, this is crazy. Some company do this. Not directly. They create a pull request. But pull request is something people who bring the phone create pull request. See how our profession changes. And it's not strange. Can these people edit your website if they find a bug? They can. They click edit. If the tools are easier for normal people, they will use it. So programming is no longer limited to developers. That's what I'm saying. And it's coming and coming and coming. And you'll see how people who are not developers will write code and will fix bugs because they will have tools to do this. Okay, so when to use these AI developer agents? They can handle large projects autonomously, but this highly depends on the project. For some projects, they can do the job. For example, if you want to create a homework assignment, which is just create a web-based game, these tools will do it excellent. So it depends whether you have new or existing code base. When you have legacy created in the last 10 years, oh, senior developers can do this. We have one project now that we use 4 technologies that don't exist today. And we just have the binaries. If we use these binaries, our projects will take months to be able to compile. Old versions of something, products which disappeared. So how they deal with this? They cannot deal with this because they don't have trained on the source cost of product which died in the past. How they could know it? Maybe disassemble the binaries. Maybe. So we have, if we have well-described or briefly described projects, this depends. Briefly described projects will also work, but the final result might not be what you expect. Yeah, it's normal. If you have human developers, it's the same. Small or large, simple or complex projects. If you do just form collections of data, AI tools will do it. If you have something that someone should go in the factory and deal with the physical hardware on a certain protocol made by Vanu who is not working there already, it's different. So standard or non-standard functionality. They write very well React, but in some frameworks they could not be so good. Languages, frameworks, platforms, it depends. For example, these tools work very well with Python, with React, with massive technologies, and will not work so well in, who knows, quantum computing, for example, or something which is new and not so massive. So AI is a tool for developers. It's not a replacement, at least in the next maybe 10 years. For after that, who knows? But I believe that if software developers are getting fully replaced, this will happen as well for many other jobs. I think that taxi drivers will disappear in 20 years in some countries. Because in India and Pakistan, it could be cheaper to have physical people to do this job from the economic reasons, not technology. Yeah, why not? If you have autonomous driver, it's expensive. If you should pay for the data center, it's better to have Bionic. So AI is something which empowers and don't replace devs. This is the current statement, and I believe this is true for the next years. And dev assistants, coding agents, they make people better. And if you are smart, if you are good developer, they will make you even better. If you are not good developer, you can do very good spaghetti because if you write code and you don't know, you only write without reading, it could be very, very spaghetti at the end. Yeah, because prompt, oh, done. Another prompt, oh, it's working. But if you don't think, you know what happens with not so smart developers. The same will happen with tools on bigger scale. So developers are still needed to drive the dev process. They should keep an eye what happens. They should see what's inside. They are essential for guiding this AI to setting objectives, to checking the results. After each steps, okay, does it work well? Oh, it's correct. Or change it. To So you need an interaction, just like when you use a junior developer to write portion of your problems and tasks. So the human oversight is still important. Maybe over the time it will be less needed. Maybe this is the direction. And the level of autonomy will increase. But conformance to requirements is one of the biggest problems. Often requirements are not well defined, and you need to talk with customers, to act as an analyst, to actively communicate with the stakeholders, to think, to know about the business background, the target industry, and many other things. Just to talk with the people in the coffee and ask them why you do this way. It's not because just write the software is not how it works. It works with many iterations. That's why often we don't know how many time a software will take. In our industry, for most projects, we don't know how many time it will take. I'm a business owner, and in most cases, I have an idea. This could take a few months. This is if you go in a factory where they produce shirts, and if you say how many time this will take, they will take very, very correctly estimation. But in software, it's different. So our industry works differently. It needs people and will continue to need people. Software developers require human skills like communication, cooperation, to need to talk with the people, critical thinking and problem solving. This is a place where machines are improving. But this critical thinking and problem solving should be based not only in the software world, for example, how to use a better framework or more efficient code, etc. But it includes the business side. Why should I do this form for this customer? It might be meaningless. Yes, but if you have a good specification, very, very, very well defined, these tools will be better. And if you understand complex problems and environments, domain expertise will be something that will be needed. If you do software about pharmacy, you should know this pharmacy, how it works, how the legislation, the rules, the everything. So developer skills are shifting. We see this. To be honest, they are shifting in the last 30 years. We shifted from object-oriented programming to something else. We shifted to mobile development, to cloud development. It's constantly shifting. So this is something not new. Now the shift is towards integrating these AI tools efficiently and integrating them not only in coding, but in the entire workflow, in the deployment, in the monitoring, in the code reviews, in the security audits. So AI will take over the routine tasks. You will no longer need to write HTML and to decide what was this CSS class here. This is no longer needed. The AI is better than you. So developers need to focus on higher level skills, writing prompts and monitoring whether what is suggested is correct or not. If not, write another prompt to fix it, etc., 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 many, many times. So the skills are transforming from writing code to writing AI prompts to generate code and checking the results. We have a statistics that 89% of US-based developers already are using some kind of AI-powered coding tools at work. So people already use this, but not all of them. Some of them claim I use it. Sometimes I look for a problem error, for an error in ChatGPT instead in Stack Overflow. But this is not AI-enabled developer. AI-enabled developer could do much more. Traditional versus modern developers. So basically, traditional developers focus on code, on debugging, on doing things themselves. But the AI developers are trying to assist the same things with the AI. In debugging, they ask the AI find the problem. This is my error message, find the problem. This is my code. And this works. In coding, generate this, add this, change this, etc., etc., etc. So new roles will emerge. We don't know exactly, but the AI enhanced developer, this sounds like a new role, but this will be just a developer in the future, like cloud developer. It's a kind of new role, but it's just a developer. If you are a developer, you should know also cloud and also web apps and also databases, for example. It's just a piece of your knowledge and skills. And you should know AI, of course. AI tool integrator, like a new profession, DevOps, arose a few years ago. Maybe new professions like people specialized to bring these new um, tools and approach to development will come. I think that in some companies there will be internal leaders who will drive this process and will implement it worldwide, uh, company-wide. Like in Amazon, the management took a decision that they will rescue all the development force inside. They will stop hiring and they will make internal training. So maybe this role will arise. Someone who is expert in how to apply these things in all the stages of software production, not just coding. For example, deployment or maintenance. AI development managers, they will be just like the normal development managers, but will use AI and will combine human developers and AI agents. And they will decide, okay, this task I will give you to the virtual developer, Devin, and this to the human developer, Mariah, for example. Code to editor, etc., etc. This is something which we'll see in the future. I'm not sure which will exactly be the new roles, but I believe there will be new roles around these new technologies. For example, when DevOps arose, they invented DevSecOps, Dev whatever ops, etc., etc. It will be similar. There will be new roles because of the new uh, perspective of development. So, what happens on the job market? This is something which directly affects all of you because some people could lose their job, some company could bankrupt, and this already happened, including in my industry. In the training software engineers is no longer something wanted and massive like it was. Some company bankrupts, some, but developer job market evaluates. It comes through evolution because this is something which is now considered a highly probable thing that demand for developers is unlikely to decrease. But who knows? This could be discussable because developer performance will improve. It already improves, but it's a percentage. It's not 10 times. We have some surveys, for example, from Stack Overflow, from GitHub, etc., and they claim that 40%, 50%, 60% improvement due to these tools already, but not 10 times, which means that you don't need to fire developers still. You can just do more work with the same people, which indirectly could lead to firing people, right? But in all the projects, you have always more work than you can handle. You always have tasks that stay and they never enter in the daily sprint, in the sprint. So the nature of development will evolve towards AI assisted development. How exactly we'll see, but we already see tools like Cursor and GitHub Copilot. And developers who adopt the AI assisted development will be winners. Some people will reject, and I already see this. Some people just reject to use the new technology. They prefer to write their SQL, for example, stay in the data center and do the same for 20 years. Some people are trying to learn new technologies, so it's a normal. But I think that AI-powered low-code platforms will emerge and will form a different area in software development, which will be a kind of development for non-developers. We already have this industry, but it's not popular. It's not normal math teacher to make software for his class because it's not so easy. It was not normal for a marketing agency to create a website. But now it's not a normal a developer to create a website because creating a website it's more marketing than coding. It will be similar for certain use cases. For example, to make a registrations for a conference. You still can do this by Google Forms, but it could be made by mobile app, which will be cloud-based, AI, tintiri-mintiri, untranslatable, etc. So this was my talk, and I just want to mention the SoftUni AI as a leader in the tech education. We are starting a comprehensive program, which is for non-technical people, and our aim is to everyone who want to touch the AI to have a easy way to touch it. We'll teach prompt engineering deeply, AI agents, document analysis, and many other things. And we'll enter into bigger details, for example, for the healthcare industry, for the real estate industry, for the law industry, etc., etc., etc. And we additionally have the developer side for which is about training machine models and using modern AI technologies from the developer perspective. 57 minutes. Questions?